normalize. And from the foreign scene, Egyptian Khalid El Enani and Firmin Matoko of Congo compete for UNESCO's top job. President Bola Tinubu says his administration established the 200 billion naira intervention fund to support micro, small and medium enterprises and manufacturers to assist them in boosting competitiveness and addressing structural challenges. Represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, the president stated this when he declared open the 31st Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
This is the 31st National Economic Summit holding in Abuja with the theme, The Reform Imperative, Building a Prosperous and Inclusive Nigeria by 2030, leveraging technology to drive labor and to unlock full potentials of Nigerians.
As experts in the economy, you know more than the average citizen that the stability in our foreign exchange market is not accidental. It reflects deliberate choices guided by the same economic logic and wisdom that gatherings such as these embody. Along with subsidy removal, these decisions have rescued our public finances, stabilized the economy, and reassured investors at home and abroad. We owe this progress to the sacrifices of Nigerians, whose patience and understanding have been the bedrock of our endurance. To them, I say, the better days we promise are already within sight.
Nigeria's economic reforms are already visible, and Vice President Kashim Shettima said the summit is another platform to expedite action in driving the government's desire in actualizing transformative results.
There is obviously the need for us to also then add local production or significant growth in local production. But the other things that government need to look at, and they're looking at them now, which is good, are levies and the way customs operate. Because those are bottlenecks even today to anyone who wants to do any export. The processes and the procedures that you have to go through.
In areas of trade facilitation through the traditional routes on land and sea, we've worked significantly on a national single window that will be coming live in Q1. And what this means is taking from paper, from policy, into working with human beings to make sure that we give life to the AFCFTA and we really help to tackle those problems.
The investments needed are massive, and to be able to achieve anything like the targets of a $1 trillion economy, really bold action will be needed here, and probably starting on two fronts. One is even more actions on public revenue mobilization.
So it's very important, of course, to keep on insisting on reform that we've heard this morning on modernizing ports and internal connectivity, on establishing a single national window, modernizing custom, creating a digital one-stop shop, upgrading logistics services and warehousing, for instance, for cold chain or bonded warehouses, and prioritize deliverable reforms that directly increase exports, focusing on sectors where Nigeria has a comparative advantage.
And these stakeholders believe Nigeria's success depends on aligning key priorities by driving industrialization-led growth, building infrastructure for competitiveness, advancing inclusion for shared growth, strengthening institutions for sustainable impact, and unlocking investment amid global trade shifts. In Abuja, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has described the slight increase in the price of cooking gas as momentary, assuring that the price will soon return to normal, all things being equal. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL, Bashir Ojulari, gave the assurance while speaking to State House correspondent Musbat Onwahab after an audience with President Bola Tinubu in Lagos. The GCEO updated President Tinubu on progress being made by terms of oil production performance.
So we're making good progress. As you know, we recorded about 1.68 a million barrels per day of oil production last month, which was very good. That was the first in about 5 years in terms of milestones. We also recorded the highest gas production at about above 7 BCF per day again, which is also the highest in recent times. But what we're also expecting is that with some of the turnaround maintenances that we've done in the month of August and September, all of those are meant to come back this month. And we are hoping that before the end of the year, we should at least be clocking at least 1.8 million barrels per day, all things being equal.
Larry also spoke on the federal government's efforts which resolved the tussle between the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Penkistan, and the Dangote Petroleum Refinery that earlier affected oil production and distribution as well as electricity.
So since then, we've been able to return quite a number of the production back to status quo. There are 1 or 2 areas where we're still trying to catch up. But overall, we are gradually gone back to restore the lost production and the deferments that we have as of today.
Nigeria has experienced a bit of increase in gas price. How about that? How is that been addressed?
Yeah, so the increase you saw was relatively artificial because, you know, for the period of the strike, what that meant was that quite movements and loading were delayed by about 2-3 days, right? And because of that, you see that impact. As things return back to normal, it takes some time for distribution to be fully restored. So that delay, and of course, as you know, with Nigerians, people take opportunity. With that delay, some of the people that have existing resources and reserves had to put up the price. My expectation is that now that things are back to normal, prices should return back to what they were before the strike.
Now, Prime Minister of France, Sébastien Lecornu, has resigned less than a day after his cabinet was unveiled. Francis Udojo reports that Sébastien stepped down as Prime Minister, citing the non-fulfillment of certain conditions necessary for him to continue in that role.
Sébastien Lecornu, while stating his reason for his resignation, criticized the unwillingness by political parties to reach a compromise. The Élysée Palace made the announcement after Lecornu met President Emmanuel Macron. The move comes only 26 days after Lecornu was appointed Prime Minister following the collapse of the previous government of Francois Bayrou. Parties across board in the National Assembly had fiercely criticized the composition of Lecornu's cabinet, which was largely unchanged from Bayrou's, and threatened to vote it down. Several parties are clamoring for early elections and some are calling for Macron to go, although he has always said he will not stand down before his term ends in 2027. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
UNESCO's Executive Board has started voting this Monday to select a new Director General, chosen between an Egyptian former antiquities minister and a Congolese economist in an election overshadowed by the U.S. withdrawal and a resulting budget crisis. The winner will lead the UN's cultural and educational agency at a time of profound financial and political challenge. The race pits Egypt's Khalid El-Enani, an archaeologist and former tourism minister, against the Republic of Congo's Firmin Matoko, a veteran UNESCO official. El-Enani, backed by the Arab League and African Union, aims to become the first Arab leader of the organization and has pledged to continue its cultural mission and fight against anti-Semitism. His challenger, Matoko, emphasizes his decades of field experience, including work in post-genocide Rwanda, and promises budgetary rigor and a focus on technical rather than political solutions. Now, the World Health Organization says 400 people in Gaza have died from malnutrition since the start of the year. The figure includes 101 children, 80 of whom were under 5 years of age. Here is Francis Udojo with the details.
An official in the Department of Therapeutic Nutrition, Al-Adha Hospital in northern Gaza, says large numbers of patients are coming to U.S. from the southern Gaza Strip and from the southern areas. He said in addition to the increase in the number of cases among children under 5 years,
new numbers and new cases are being recorded in children over the age of 5. As a result, the hospital is receiving cases of severe malnutrition with medical complications from children ages 5 to 12. Recently, records show that cases of recent children from 2 to 6 months are also being attended to. Currently, there are just 4 malnutrition stabilization centers in Gaza that are operational. Northern Gaza has also been cut off from food aid for weeks, leaving the nutrition response facing critical shortages of therapeutic foods. The World Food Programme, WFP, said humanitarian access was improving across Gaza, but access to the north must be swiftly reinstated. The WFP stressed that a ceasefire is needed to get enough food aid to the most vulnerable. About 5,000 people in Gaza City area have already been classified as experiencing famine, according to United Nations-backed experts. Francis Sudojo, NT News.
Now, in a major step towards improving child health in Nigeria, the federal government has officially introduced the measles rubella vaccine into the country's routine immunization schedule. The rollout marks the launch of a landmark immunization initiative under the Renewed Hope agenda aimed at protecting millions of children from preventable diseases. The campaign is Nigeria's largest ever integrated vaccination drive, targeting over 100 million children between the ages of 9 months and 14 years. Alongside the measles rubella vaccine, children will also receive vaccines for human papillomavirus (HPV), which protects against cervical cancer, polio, and other routine immunization. Speaking at the flag-off, First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu described the initiative as a solution, a pathway to hope, and a promise of progress, ensuring that Nigerian children are protected against 2 deadly diseases and given the opportunity for a healthier future.
When it infects the pregnant woman, the unborn child may likely be born with blindness, deafness, or serious heart defects. The consequences are profound. Families are devastated, communities are weakened, and the nation suffers. Every child lost is a dream cut short. Every disability causes a future dimmed. We cannot allow this devastating trend to continue. That is why we are here today, to flag off a solution, a pathway to hope and promise of progress. With this vaccine, our children will be protected against 2 deadly diseases and enjoy a lifetime of safety and protection.
The children that we vaccinate, the families that we reach, and the trust that we build in our country are what will help deliver the renewed hope promise to our fellow Nigerians and define the legacy, the health legacy of an entire generation. I urge all state governments to take this on, to demand accountability, to advocate, and to ensure that we reach the goals of reaching more than 100 million children.
It is a highly contagious viral disease that causes fever, rash, cough, and red eyes. Without timely vaccination, it can lead to serious life-threatening complications. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu wants women to prioritize their health by warding off breast cancer through early detection, regular self-examination, and timely medical screening. This is in her message marking Breast Cancer Awareness Month 2025. She calls on women to work together in raising awareness, supporting survivors, and encouraging one another to take proactive steps for a better health. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the Federation of Public Service Games, has flagged off activities to mark the 2025 Breast Cancer Awareness Month at the MKO Abiola National Stadium in Abuja, with the theme, Promoting Prevention Rather Than Treatments. Elizabeth Omori reports that the initiative aims to reaffirm commitment to reducing the burden of cancer in Nigeria.
Cancer. It creeps in quietly, sometimes unnoticed, until it's too late. Despite global efforts, the numbers keep rising each year, but the Nigerian government is leaving no stone unturned. This year, the fight has been taken to the workplace through the Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Federation of Public Service Games. Free cancer screening is being offered to civil servants across the country. At the flag-off, the head of the civil service of the Federation said the campaign is more than just a health initiative. It is a declaration that the Nigerian workforce has chosen health, life and hope over fear and denial.
If you haven't gone for treatment, you can seek approval that the things you want to do are not covered by NHIS, and if approval is given, then you can go ahead and obtain the treatment.
The federal government has a cancer health fund wherein you register and it's a subsidized program.
The screening covers breast, cervical, prostate and colorectal cancers. Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
You're watching news. Senator George Akume has invited members of the Council of State and Police Council to a hybrid strategic meeting to discuss matters of national importance and key issues affecting national security and policing. A statement by the Permanent Secretary, Cabinet Affairs Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Dr. Eman Sokop Umobong, says the meeting, which is slated for Thursday, 9th October 2025, at the Council Chambers, Asot Villa, will start with members of the Council of State at 1 p.m., while members of the Police Council will meet by 2 p.m. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari has affirmed the country's commitment to fulfilling the obligations outlined in the Kampala Declaration. The minister, who was speaking at the National CAADP Summit aimed at domesticating the African Union's Kampala Declaration on Agricultural Transformation and Food Security. Musa Baba Aliu brings us the details.
Nigeria is a signatory to the African Union's Comprehensive Africa Agricultural Development Program, CADEP, launched in 2003 to enhance agricultural productivity and food security.
To domesticate these countries.
Key players in the agricultural sector, including development partners, are reviewing this document and its domestication in Nigeria.
Maputo Declaration, Malabo declarations, all of them have the setback of not carrying along the subnationals.
So our responsibility as stakeholders is to take some information back to our respective states, get it integrated in a working formula.
The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, stated that Nigeria is committed to meeting its obligations, stressing the need to move beyond traditional approaches and advocating for bold reforms to create productive, resilient and inclusive food systems.
It is important to acknowledge that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR has made tremendous efforts by providing clear policy direction and fostering stronger collaboration with the states in the implementation of the Malabo Declaration.
Through our implementing partner GIZ and the Sustainable Agriculture Systems and Policies project and complementary initiatives, we are dedicated to strengthen evidence-based policymaking, gender equality, climate-smart agriculture and regional learning.
CADEP is an Agenda 2063 continental initiative aimed at helping African countries eliminate hunger and reduce poverty by promoting economic growth through agricultural-led development. Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
Now, reports reaching us indicate that President Bola Tinubu is back in Abuja after a 10-day working visit to Lagos. The presidential airplane landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at 6:55 p.m. this Monday evening. The president, who left Abuja on Friday, September 26th, attended the coronation of the new Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Adolu Ladoja in Ibadan, before proceeding to Lagos the same day. While in Lagos, President Tinubu engaged with key investors, including Bayo Ogunlesi, Chief Executive Officer of Global Infrastructure Partners, and Akeem Bello Hagi, former chairman of United Bank for Africa and Etisalat, and now chairman of Metis Capital Partners. On the eve of Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary, President Tinubu visited Imo State to inaugurate projects executed by Governor Hope Uzodinma, and also unveiled a book authored by the governor chronicling 10 years of the APC governance in Nigeria. Apart from addressing the nation in a broadcast on the Independence Day, he later inaugurated the renovated National Theatre, now renamed the Wole Soyinka Center for Culture and the Creative Arts. President Tinubu equally visited Jos, Plateau State, to attend the burial of Mama Lydia Ilwada, the mother of Professor Nantawe Ilwada, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Now, around the world today, attention is turning to the cities we live in, their structures, their systems, and the people who call them home. It's World Habitat Day 2025, a moment to reflect on the right to adequate shelter and the shared responsibility of creating inclusive, resilient cities. Here is Mina Daniels with the reports.
On this first Monday of October, the world pauses not just to reflect, but to raise a voice, a vision, a vow for shelter, for dignity, for life itself. Today is World Habitat Day. A reminder that every person, rich or poor, has the right to a safe place to call home, a roof that doesn't leak, a floor that isn't fear.
The theme is looking at urban crisis response, and it's actually justified. We're having a situation where the urban areas are very crowded.
Habitat, it's more than bricks and stone. It's where stories begin, where lives unfold. So today we ask, what kind of world are we building? Can we rise not just only taller, but together? Not just richer, but fairer. Can we build homes that hold hope, not just heat?
And we're building renewed hope cities, renewed hope estates. In the cities, we're doing those mainly as public-private partnerships where we're building 3,000 to 5,000 houses per location. We're looking at about a figure of between 15 million to 25 million housing deficit gap in Nigeria. Basically, that is the task at hand.
And they should try and make it more affordable to the low-income person.
Landlords keep increasing rent. You could see a space that is not even enough for you to put 3 loads, and they are calling for you an amount that can rent a room and bedroom.
This year's theme, Resilient Urban Economies, Cities as Drivers of Growth and Recovery, is a call to action. Let this be more than a day. Let it be a beginning, because every home built is a future restored, and every life sheltered is a story that continues. So as the global population moves increasingly into cities, the challenge and the opportunity is clear to build urban cities that are safe, inclusive, and resilient. World Habitat Day is not just about buildings. It's about dignity, it's about equality, and the right to call a place home. In Abuja, Mina Daniels, NTA News.
Thank you, Mina. Now, the Federal High Court Abuja Division has adjourned hearing in a suit filed by the Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, Uche Nnaji, against the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and others. Justice Hawa gave the order due to the inability of the council to the UNN and its officers to file their responses. Uche Nnaji, the applicant, sued the Minister of Education, the National Universities Commission, UNN, and its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Simon Otuanya, and 3 others as respondents. Nnaji, in an ex parte motion, had sought an order granting him writs prohibiting the university and its officials from tampering with or continuing to tamper with his academic records. The minister also sought leave of the court to issue an order of mandamus compelling the university and its officials to release his academic transcript to him, and asked the Minister of Education and the NUC to exercise their supervisory powers to compel UNN to do so. President Bola Tinubu warmly felicitates his longtime ally and Minister of Solid Minerals, Dr. Dele Alake, on his 69th birthday anniversary. President Tinubu describes Alake as a dependable ally, a consummate strategist, an outstanding journalist, and an accomplished public servant whose commitment to national development and good governance has remained unwavering over the decades. The president recalls his long years of friendship and partnership with the celebrants, noting his exceptional public communication and national development service. President Tinubu commends the minister's ongoing efforts to reposition the solid mineral sector as a significant revenue earner for Nigeria through policy innovation, investment promotion, and integration of artisanal miners into the formal economy in line with the Renewed Hope agenda. The president wishes him a long life and more years of service to the nation and humanity. And that does it on the news at 7 on this time on NT International. We thank you for watching. I'm Lami Ali. John Bamidele has been the sign language interpreter. Thanks for watching.